Good morning. The year's wrapping up right now, and we want to make sure that you're prepared for what's happening in the marketplace and where you sit in it. So, my name is Alan Richard. I'm the managing broker here at Maxwell Realtor Partners.
My name's Ming Richardson, the compliance broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
So, we're heading into 2026, and even though it's not 2026 yet, it is way
Around the
closer
corner.
than you really can understand. And so we believe that, I'm not saying you have to go back to move forward, but we do want you to understand exactly what's going on with our marketplace right now. And so we're going to run through a bunch of the numbers here for the state of Georgia and that kind of stuff, and really talk about some market trends that we see what's happening there so that you're prepared moving into 2026. So first thing, let's start off with prices. What's going on with prices? So if you look at pricing and we normally track both Georgia MLS and FMLS, it's really accurate data. And so right now you'll see where FMLS is up about, it's down about 1.5% last month. Georgia MLS is up about 3.5%. Now, all in all, we're running around 1% to 2% up for the year. And that's still a good, steady place to be.
Correct.
Now, it's not the same everywhere. The market in Sandy Springs is not the market in Griffin, is not the market in Macon, that kind of stuff. Exactly. So there are always going to be exceptions, but overall, this is kind of what we're seeing for the state of Georgia. Now, inventory has been an interesting story this year for sure. Now, overall, new listings for the most part all year have been up. That is tapering down. Matter of fact, right now, new listings in FMLS are down for the first time this entire year. Now, in Georgia MLS, they're up, but not up what I'd call it. They're up 2%. So that new inventory, that's a very important piece to our market, honestly, because new inventory drives the market. When a home sits on the market and it just sits and sits, people say, there must be something wrong with it. It tends to have a very hard time sitting on the market for too long. So when our sellers start off with very optimistic pricing, I would say, that tends to kind of bite them in the rear end. Okay, I'm not trying to be politically correct here. Now, that's new inventory. Overall, total inventory is still up for the year. So in FMLS, we're up about 16% year over year. In Georgia MLS, we're up about 15%. So, and this is good. We've needed more inventory. I'm glad we have more inventory. That being said, this is about half of where we were. We did have inventory that was up 30% over last year. And so having all this inventory, like this is something that we have definitely needed to have more inventory. I remember like summer of 21, that kind of stuff. We were just begging for inventory. So I'm really glad to see inventory improving. And that's a very positive thing. Now, overall, what does that mean when it comes to like closed sales? Well, closed sales right now in Georgia MLS, it's really, really flat. It's down 0.5. So basically nothing. And it's down like 6% in FMLS. But that being said, still we are still at a very flat pace. Now we've seen inventory rising and overall sales pretty flat. That's kind of where we're seeing what's driving what we've been seeing going on with pricing. Now, when it comes to days on market, and days on market have really been moving. I mean, it's been moving around a lot. Right now in Georgia MLS, average days on market for active listings is 79 days on market. That's a very important number for you to have. Now, FMLS tracks our numbers a little bit different. It's 51 days in FMLS, but they track from the point where it goes under contract, not to close. So all in all, we're looking at around 80 days of marketing time. That is an important number if you're
if you have a seller that needs to move by, let's say, May, you might want to think about marketing your product much earlier, just because it's going to take the buyer 30 days to get the loan approved on the average. And also it's going to be about almost 3 months in marketing time before you get that offer. Now, this is average. So everything's about price point. If you price it right, they will come.
Now, see, and Ming brings up an absolute perfect point, and that is when it's priced right, good homes in good areas priced right, guess what they do? They sell fast,
they
right?
Still go to the market.
They're still going quickly. Like the old adage of, if you sleep on it, you may not sleep in it kind of thing. We're seeing where the good properties are moving. Now, one area that we are seeing that is starting to have a shift, and that is the number of months of supply that we had. We were running over 5 months of standing inventory. Right now in FMLS, we're down to 4.5 months and 4.7 months in Georgia MLS. So we have dropped down here lately. So what we've seen as we went into the fall, inventory levels, new inventory dropping. We still have a bunch of old inventory on there, but new inventory has been dropping, and that's caused total inventory to drop. Sales have been pretty steady, so we're seeing where inventory is actually shrinking back down a little bit right now.
Well, partially it's because the new federal fund rate cut, it has boosted a little bit consumer confidence in buying home too.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to listing your properties right now, one thing that we want you to kind of understand is that overpricing properties is a challenge, and I know, and I get it. Like we're sellers too,
Absolutely.
And I want as much for my home. I don't believe that sellers are greedy and that kind of stuff. I think that when it's your property, you want as much as you can for the property. I totally understand that, but we need to be very clear about what's happening in the marketplace right now. So if you look at what is the average percent of list price versus sale price, the difference is in right now over 5%. So the average listing is dropping it by 5% before they actually sell the property. That's just kind of across the board. That means that we have some properties that are getting dropped 10%, that kind of stuff in order to move. And so we're seeing where there's more and more pressure on affordability. No one's just going to be like, you know what, I'll pay you more for your house. They're not going to. And so right now, that premium is running about 5% what it's going to run, regardless of which MLS that we're talking about looking at. But right now, there is about a 5%. And that's a very important number as we move forward into the year, understanding when we're talking to our clients, especially what's going on first part of next year. Coming out into 2026, we need to be very, very prepared and prepare our clients about coming out, overpriced.
Right, and price it right.
Yeah, exactly. So now we have had some talk about foreclosures. And let me just start off and say, are there more foreclosures this year than there were last year? Yes. Okay. Was it astronomically more? No. And if you look at where it was compared to, say, pre-COVID, for example, like in COVID, it really dropped off for sure. But we're still significantly less foreclosures than we had in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. All those years before COVID, we have less foreclosures now than we had back then. So are there more than there was last year? Yes. Will you see headlines talking about that?
Absolutely.
Yes. Should you expect this big foreclosure wave coming? Absolutely not. No, we don't see anything coming along those going on. So again, what we are seeing though is that this where we're heading to into 2026, and this is what we want you really to understand right now, is that we're seeing where inventory is tightening back up, and we're getting ready to go into our January buying season. Now, everybody says it's the spring buying market, but realistically, that's not true. What happens is we start off on January 1, where the level of activity is just off the chain, right? We normally start off in January where there's a lot of stuff going on. Those transactions don't actually happen until March, April, that kind of stuff. Sometimes February. We see where there's a real trend. But the activity level starts in January. And we're at a place where we're seeing a lot less inventory than we have over the past year. We are seeing a lot of price cuts also going on right now.
Yep.
We're seeing right now the typical U.S. listing in the United States right there saw a $25,000 drop in price cuts.
And that's in October.
Yeah, and that's the same thing that we were seeing when we said that 5% premium. We're seeing the exact same thing. But probably the biggest concern we see happening right now is that delistings, people taking their home off the market. Delistings is the highest it's been since 2017, right? more sellers, 2016, 2017, more sellers are taking their home off the market since that time. And that's a really big
Partially,
deal.
that's a little bit of seasonality because during Christmas time, they may not want people in, and they figure that with everybody busy being the holiday, that folks are, if they were going to buy, they will probably pull the trigger in November. But in December, a lot of traveling time, a lot of holiday season. So therefore, that's one reason why some of the housing are coming off the market so they can reset for the year.
Well, and that is very true. But we have to be very proactive about what we're doing going into 2026. Right now, 27% in the Atlanta area, overall the Atlanta MSA, 27% of listings have been taken off the market. So there's a like 1 out of 4, over 1 out of 4,
Right.
right? And this has been a trend that we've seen going on all year. So if 27% of our homes are being delisted, and we're heading into what is normally a really good time of year where the activity level starts shooting up.
Correct.
Now's the time when we need to be going out and really aggressively reaching out
Delist.
to those sellers, right? Because historically, about 1 out of 5 properties that are delisted gets relisted. Those other 4 stay off the market for a while as they just kind of, I'm not sure what we're going to do, but they rethink about pricing, that kind of stuff. Like going and looking at old expired listings is going to be a very important piece because inventory has trended down. The inventory is tightening up. We're heading into a very good first part of the year in 2026. Now is the right time to be reaching out. Let people get their homes ready, get them prepared, and then come out in the spring market. So I strongly recommend that we look at older expired listings right now. I think there's a real opportunity there for that. So overall, here in the state of Georgia, really balanced. We're just going to kind of wrap up here, right? So we have new listings that are not nearly as high as they have been, pending sales that are pretty flat, closed sales that are pretty flat, and inventory that is tightening up. So that's heading into kind of what we're looking at moving forward. Our inventory, our months of supply is down a little bit. Overall, here in the Atlanta area, still sales prices are holding really steady. Inventory is really tight. Now, on the national level, because Georgia's a piece of it, but a lot of times you see like California, Texas, and Florida, they tend to rule a lot in New York. What happens in those markets tends to be the national average. But overall, it's just some national numbers that we want to throw at you. First one, mortgage rates, because we haven't even touched on mortgage rates.
We have not.
Mortgage rates are trending down, right? And so we are near the lowest that we've had for
a long time.
Yeah, for 2 or 3 years now. So the mortgage rates are trending down. That's a very good sign.
Well, and also with the Fed signaling that they're going to be cutting more rates beginning of the year, it's helping the consumer have a little more confidence in purchasing a home.
Yep. And then the same thing on sales on the national level as we're seeing here in Georgia. And that is pretty steady, but slight increase in sales nationally. Overall inventory, very similar to Georgia. It's really kind of, it's up, but it's been trending down these last, and part of that is seasonal. There's no doubt about it. I'm just saying that January is a very good time to list, right? So we aren't seeing prices crash real broadly over there. Georgia appears to be a very, very healthy market. Now is the right time to be in real estate. Now is the right time to be reaching out and engaging. And so we want to really encourage you. Talk to your clients, especially past clients right now, especially expired listings. We think there's a very big opportunity right there. Absolutely. To get people back in the market on, starting off in January. If that's the case, now's the time when you need to reach out to them.
And just a little tip, right now, the new construction are hot because they do have some standing inventory. Please go visit, go call the agent, see what you can do to help your client move into a home that's affordable. Thank you very much for watching.
Have a great week.
Have a great day.